Hitva Gnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodho Vidhiyate. Oh. Namaste to all of you. Last time we talked about the evolution of subtle elements, and from those subtle elements, evolution of sense organ and the entire subtle body. We saw that last time. One thing we should know here, that everything is out of Brahman plus Maya. Brahma Shraya Maya Asti. So this is all subtle elements are Karya or product of Brahman with Maya. And the product or the effect of the Karya not being separate from the cause, as the Maya is Mithya, the whole creation is Mithya. There is an order in evolution of 5 subtle elements, which we talked last time. And we also saw from those subtle elements what evolved. Whole subtle body got evolved, which consists of 5 senses of perception, 5 senses of action, 5 pranas, and mind and intellect. This total 17 elements. The senses of perception and the mind and buddhi have evolved from the sattva aspect of the Maya. We also saw that all the sense organs of action and prana are evolved from rajas aspect of these 5 elementals, which are in subtle form. Since they are in subtle form, they give rise to, from sattva aspect, the indriyas, sense organs, which are subtle. Say 5 senses of perception we saw. This akasha gives rise to the nose. Vayu is responsible, sattva aspect of vayu, on this skin. Agni is responsible for, say, for form, eyes, which can see the forms. Then jalam, rasanendriya, the tongue, the sense organs of taste. And from prithvi, sense organ of smell. Sorry, I said akasha. Akasha means ears. There is a reason for evolution of this. They are subtle in the form. This particular thing, we call it ear, but this is ear lobe, not ear. Ear is an indriya, sense organ. This particular thing we call a nose, but it is not nose. The organ of smell is sense of perception we are talking about. So sattva aspect of the 5 elements gave rise to this. Total sattva together is antahkaranam, which can comprehend all the 5. Each of these sense organ can comprehend only one vishaya, only one object, either smell or touch or taste or whatever. Whereas mind or antahkarana can comprehend all the 5. That is sattva ansha, sattva aspect of the sense organ, giving rise to these sense organs. Then there is rajashamsa. Total sattva gives rise to antahkaranam, and total rajas, rajaguna of each sense organ give rise to different sense organs. Akasha gives rise to the organ of speech. Vayu gives rise to hands. Agni it gives rise to his sense of feet, action, movement. Then Abah, the Jalam, is responsible for genetial organs, and Prithvi is responsible for anus excretion organs. So, Saraja Samsha of all the five elements gives rise to fivefold senses of action, and Rajas together of all the five elements gives rise to Pancha Pranaha, all five pranas we saw. Now, the teacher talks about the evolution of the tamas aspect. Tamas, that is inert. How does the tamas evolve? The tamas evolves, tamas aspect of all the five elements. Akash, space, Vayu, Agni. Vayu means air, Agni, fire, water, and earth. They are in a subtle form. How does they get converted into gross forms? The gross evolution is from tamas aspect of each of the elements. And it is not straight from the tamas. There is a process of evolution technically called as Panchikaranam, process of evolution. And what is Panchikaranam? The first of all, each subtle element is, tamas aspect of the element is divided into half, each element. Of the two halves, one half is further divided into four categories. So we have one half, and then 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8. Total four pieces of 1/8, which will make a 4 upon 8. 4 divided by it makes 1.5. 1/2 it is, and for the first half. Now the 1/4 or 1/8 of each element. So first let us say Akasha. That Akasha, 1/2 of Akasha remains intact. So also all the five elements. And in Akasha, 1/8 of the other four get mixed up, and then that makes it complete. And Akasha's 1/8, four pieces of 1/8 get mixed up with other elements. So each element gives 1/8 of its own to all other four elements. That means that we have each half original plus rest of the four along with that element. That is how we have grossification of all these elements. So when we call this gross Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi, space, air, Apaha means water, fire, water, and Prithvi. These five gross elements, they are physical elements to be comprehended in this physical waking world. Here we should know gross elements are appears to be inert in nature, even though they are not separate from Chaitanya. They are not separate from Brahman. Brahman endowed with Maya, and the Maya's tamas aspect gives rise to these five elements. So ultimately, it is manifestation of the same Brahman, same Ishvara. Brahman, when endowed with Maya Shakti, we call it Ishvara. And that is his manifestation. We have said earlier, there is no creation. What we call as a creation is nothing but manifestation, evolution, or you can say the process of grossification. Now these elements, which are gross elements that are available for our perception, they appear to be inert, but as I said, they are not separate from Ishvara. not being separate from Ishvara. Just for information of you, most of you, especially the Western students, non-India born students, and even the India born students, since they are not separate from Ishvara, in India, these five elements are worshipped. When you say Ishvara, it traditionally it means Shiva. Ishvara means Shiva. And the Lord Shiva has Panchalingas, has a Pancha Mahabhutas. These are all called five basic elements. Therefore, we call it Mahabhutas. I mean, and the Shiva is worshipped as all these elements. Okay, I have told you earlier also, when we worship sun, we are not worshipping the object sun or the phenomenon sun. Through that phenomena called sun, which gives us light and energy, we actually worship Ishvara. Because entire creation is manifestation of Ishvara. So every manifestation becomes a symbol for invoking Ishvara in a particular aspect, in a particular form. Creation has so many orders functioning together. Therefore, there is harmony. So we look upon the form as non-separate from Ishvara, and therefore we can invoke in that form the Ishvara. So we can also worship the Ishvara as a cosmic form, the totality, and we can also worship him as a severally. That is what we call as Devatas. Last couple of classes back, I had told this. Now, here, as I said, these five gross elements, this Devatas are nothing but those order, those laws which runs the creation. This which is such a complex system, as I said earlier, so intelligently put together. It works in a harmony, like a music symphony. Different organs playing, but they create a melody. So there is a harmony. There is an ecology here. And all the laws which maintain the ecological balance, we look upon them as devatas. These gross elements, not being separate from Bhagavan, we worship them. So there are Panchalingas in south of India. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, and Prithvi. Bhagavan is worshipped as Akasha, Bhagavan is worshipped as Vayu, worshipped as Agni, etc. The famous temple which you might have, most of you have heard the name Chidambaram. The Chidambaram, the Bhagavan is worshipped as space, the gross space. If you go there, there is a black curtain and there is a dark room. And they will just open curtain for some time to give you darshanam. And it is pitch dark and you don't see anything. Walls are also of the black stone. And if not black stone, all the oily hands and the wicks and being lighted for so many centuries have made it black, I guess so. The top, the shikhara is gold plated, but inside it is black. Only thing that you see a huge garland of golden bilvas, golden leaves hanging in the space. And this priest will say, when we ask him, I remember when I was young and long ago, before studying Shastra, I had gone there. I asked him, where is Bhagavan? Because we are used to see some form. He says, this is Chidambaram Rahasyam. This is the Chidambaram secret. There is inside Bhagavan. You cannot see. Only few can see. Something like he had told. There is no, that this is the Rahasyam. Bhagavan is worshipped as space. Near Tirupati, there is a temple, Kalahasti, where Bhagavan is worshipped as Vayu. If you go there, in the temple, I have been there, thousands of lamps and the flame of the lamp remains steady, except the one center lamp. Its flames clips flicker. There is no window, there is no door, nothing there. That too in a typical traditional temple is all interior, interior, interior. And that flame keeps flickering. And that Kalhasti is Vayu Lingam. Bhagwan is worshipped as Vayu. And by the way, there is a Kalhasti when there is a Rahu Ketu issues, the puja they have to do there. Parihara of Rahu Ketu, people come there. Then there is Agni Linga, the fire linga. True, there is no fire as such that is worshipped, but Tiruvannamalai, where our great Raman Maharshi did his penance and he has ashram and he lived there. That Tiruvannamalai temple, that is Agnilinga. Then there is Jambukeshwara. Jambukeshwara, there is a Jalalinga. Shiva is worshipped as water. And then there is Prithvilingam, that is Kanchipuram. Because Kanchi, if you go, there is a Shiva temple where Lord is looked upon as this particular Bhuta, Panchamahabhuta, Prithvilingam. Now, so all these are looked upon as Ishvara, because nothing is separate from Ishvara. Moreover, please note here, we'll see this in the later part of this class itself. When we are talking of these 5 elements, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jala and Prithvi, we are not trying to divide the world into these 2 categories of inert objects and sentient things. What is inert is also a standpoint, and what is sentient is also a standpoint. Ultimately, it is one consciousness, and it is due to, we will see later today, due to presence and absence of subtle body. There is nothing inert if it is a manifestation of consciousness. It is exactly like people often have a question, how come this world is inert? There are inert objects, inert phenomena taking place when it causes consciousness or sentient thing. If Ishvara is a sentient being, how can this world be inert? They give an example, exactly like in my dream. I am the sentient being. I create the dream. The dream world is created through my Vishishta, special creative power. I create the whole dream. With reference to dream, I am creator. I am the one who sustains. And unto me, the whole dream world dissolves. Dream world comes from me as though and goes back unto me. And while it is there, it survives into me. In the dream world, though I am sentient being, I see many inert objects. I am the one who is Upadana Karanam, Swagnanena Nimitta Karanam. But with my creative power, you can call it a Maya Shakti. Through that Maya Shakti, I am also small Ishvara, Chota Ishvara. But there is a basic difference. That Ishvara wields the Maya power, and therefore he knows exactly what the creation would be and how it is to function. So intelligent and so orderly creation that Ishvara knows, and I don't know. That's a basic difference, but there's a big difference. My creation in dream is not orderly, much less I know what is to come and what is to come and how it is going to. It is not intelligently created. But one thing is true, similar to Ishvara, my power to create, like an Ishvara, I can create the entire world out of me. So also, Ishvara, as I said, Chota Ishvara, small Ishvara, only with reference to creative power. The power is unique. So also Ishvara's power is unique. And there are subtle sentient beings in my dream, and there are inert beings in my dream. The sentient and inert object do not qualify the presence or absence of Ishvara. Okay? It is only a presence and absence of manifestation of Ishvara as a sentiency. That's all it is. Anyway, it is purely the tamas aspect which undergoes to become these inert objects. And then, from this Panchamahabhutas, gross, 5 elements, Acharya says, Etebhyaha Panchikruta Panchamahabhutebhyaha Sthula Shariram Bhavati. From these 5 elements, Panchikruta Panchamaha. These 5 elements which have undergone the process of Panchikaranam, technically. Or you can say which have undergone the process of grossification. What happens? Sthula Shariram Bhavati. This gross body is created, is born, is evolved. All the gross bodies which we see contains all the 5 elements. This body occupies a space, point P1, and it has a space also, so many space. First of all, Mukha Avkash, there is a space in the mouth, there is a space in lungs, the space in the liver, and there is a space in the ears, and there is a space in the stomach. All the space. And some people have a lot of space here also. There is so much of space. Of course, there should be some space so that knowledge can get in. Some people have so packed with their prejudices and notions and likes and dislikes that nothing goes in. You tell them, nothing works in. They are called Sakshi Atma, Asangatma. They are untouched, indifferent. But then, that is not so, but they are too much preoccupied with their prejudices, with likes and dislikes, their own subjective values, subjective goals. Anyway, look at this now, connection. The space, this Shrotrendriya came from space. And this strength of speech, I told you, from the Rajasamshamsa of the space. Look at this. For the sound to evolve and sound to be heard, you need ear. There is a space. Then the space is there, then only you can hear. Suppose you block the space with something, you cannot hear. For speaking also, Sattvamsha gives rise to this. Rajasamsa gives rise to organ of speech. To speak also you require a space. In the mouth cavity, throat cavity. Then only the words can come out. So, this all gross bodies, it doesn't say Sthula Shariram, only our gross body. Gross body of every living organism is or any gross object is made up of these 5 elements. Therefore, we call it Pancha Bhautikam Jagat. As I said, this body has space. P1 it occupies. There is a Vayu. There is a lot of Vayu inside coming out, breath, air. There is a fire element also. Therefore, irrespective of the external temperature, the fire maintains its own temperature over here. There is a water here also. Then only the blood circulation and all things, digestion, etc. takes place, excretion, etc. And there is a solid part also. The bones and then some muscles and things like that. All that is there. And that is true with any body. Anything that you can touch and feel the touch, that means there is a Vayu Amsha. Anything that you can see, there is a fire. Anything which you can hear, there is a space. Anything that you can taste, there is a Jala Amsha. And anything that smells, there is a Prithvi Amsha. Even with inert objects, we think they don't have, but you just touch the table in front of you and touch the chair with you. Suppose it's a plastic chair, you have the different sense of touch. You touch your clothes, there is a different type of sense of touch. The fact that you can feel the touch, there is Vayu element. So this is how the Jagat is made. And the Acharya says, all the objects are made out like this. Evam Pinda Brahmandayoho Aikyam Sambhutam. In this manner, the identity between Pinda means microcosm, and Brahmanda means macrocosm or total cosmos, is Sambhutam, is established. Or you can say this Sthula Sharira is gross body is called as Pinda, and whole cosmos is referred as Anda. Pinda Brahmanda Aikya. So there is one, because both of them are these five elements, an elemental, subtle form and gross form, constitute the entire world. This is the one way of looking at it. Therefore, there is an identity between the two. What? That this is also made up of five elements and elementals, and the whole cosmos is also nothing but Panchabhutas, And remember, these Panchabhutas have evolved from Brahmashraya Maya. And Maya being Mithya, dependent on Brahman, Brahman is Satyam, and therefore Brahman is both Pinda and Brahman. They are not separate from Brahman. So, my Sthula Sharira, my gross body, as well as the entire cosmos, is not separate from Brahman, the Ishvara, you can say. And that is the what is revealed by that 11th chapter when Bhagavan shows to Arjuna his cosmic form. That everything is non-separate from me. Now, this is true that there is a identity, aikyam, oneness, but there is no identity. There is a oneness, but one is very small, limited, other one is total. But there is still one point of one way of looking at myself where there is an identity. That knowledge is revealed in next vakyas, and that is called Mahavakya. Vakyas means statements. This is called Mahavakya. Mahavakya means not big Vakya. Mahavakya means that which reveals the identity between individual and total. Complete identity. That which reveals that individual and total are nothing but manifestation of only one Vastu. It is only one Chaitanyam that is manifest. It is only one Satchidananda that is expressing as though itself as body-mind complex, and there is another same Satchidananda is expressing itself as Ishvara, and that is Ananta, limitless. And that being limitless, there is no division whatsoever, no difference, no division whatsoever, and there is nothing other than one. So that oneness or identity, the statements revealing the identity is called Mahavakya. Though popularly there are 4 Mahavakyas, it is said. But then there are so many in Upanishad. Any statement, any sentence or sentences which reveals the identity between the individual and total, that is called Mahavakya. Okay? And there are so many Vakyas, even Suktas. Some of the Sukta chanting you do, Purush Sukta, etc., itself is Mahavakya. Some prayer itself is Mahavakya. Even some names like Ramaha itself is Mahavakya. That reveals the identity between individual and total. One meaning of Rama is Ramate Asmin Sharire, the Ramaha, the one who sports. Asmin Nagari, Sharira is called Nagari or Puri. One who revels in this body is Ramaha, and one who revels in the entire creation is Rama. Sarvasmin Ramate Ramaha, Sarvatra Ramate iti Rama. One who revels everywhere and in everything. So that itself is Mahavakya. So, in the next section, the teacher is revealing Mahavakya. And he defines who is Jiva. We popularly say Jiva Shiva Ikyam. What is Jiva? Or if I use the popular word, of course they don't use in this context, or most of them don't use in this, implying this meaning. What is ego? Everybody talks. Act without ego. Ego is dangerous. They say like this. Ego destroys you. Vagara, vagara, they say. But understand what is ego. That is a problem with our spirituality. People use certain words without understanding. Common word is samsara. Anybody who gets married, they say, Swamiji, I have fallen into samsara. What is falling in samsara? Is it a high riser or what? You fell down? Is it a river or what? You dived into samsara? But they say this. And you will be surprised to know. Somebody, Pujya Swamiji also said once upon a time, and one fellow came to him with his spouse, a man brought his wife and he said, Swamiji, I have brought my samsara with myself. All kinds of usage they make it. Actually, without understanding the exact meaning of the word samsara. So also there are so many words. One of the most confused word is ahankara, jiva. People say, Swamiji, I am a jiva, and there are bhajans. Oh jiva, you try for moksha, etc., etc. Understand what is jiva. See that next sentence. Sthula sharirabhimani जीवनामकं ब्रह्म प्रतिबिंबम भवति स एव जीवः प्रकृत्या स्वस्माद् ईश्वरं भिन्नत्वेन जानाति. What is his? Sthula sharira abhimani. One who identifies with the gross body, physical body, is called jiva. What is that? Jiva, sthula sharirabhimani jiva. But how does the jiva came into being? How he got evolved? As though he says, Brahma Pratibimbam, the one who identifies. I'm just translating. Okay, I will explain the word. Don't go by those words. Brahma Pratibimbam Jivanamakam Bhavati. The reflection of the Brahman who is identified with the gross body is called Jiva. Sa eva Jiva, the same Jiva, one who is a reflection of Brahman, one who is identified with the gross body, Prakrutya Ishwaram Swasmad Bhinnattvena Janat. He knows, he considers Bhagavan, Ishvara, as different or away from him. How? Prakrutya. By nature. By nature means what? Without thinking. Okay, by nature means you don't think. People say be natural. Some of them be natural is without thinking. Behave without thinking. That's not natural. Here, vichara vina. Prakrutya means without an inquiry. He takes himself to be different from Ishvara. So we have three characteristics of Jiva. One, who is identified with the gross body. Second, that which is a reflection of Brahman. And the third, one who considers Ishvara as separate from himself or herself. Okay? And why he or she considers? Shankaracharya ji says, Prakrutya, without inquiry, without any thinking, without any analysis, or without studying Shastras. Okay? He takes to be different. Identified with the body. Let us see one by one. Identifying with the Sthula Sharira means one who takes himself or herself to be body. We generally don't say I am body, but the attributes of body are superimposed on I. That implies that we take the body as myself. Nobody says I am gross body, but we certainly say I am male or I am female. This is my age, this is my birthday, etc., etc. That I am black or I am white or I am fair, I am unfair, I am good looking, etc., etc. I am young, I am old, I am middle-aged, I am teenage, etc., etc. All these are attributes of body. I am subject to birth and one day I am going to die, etc. Taking myself, the self, I sense, to say myself to be male or female is necessary in a Vyavhar. To say I am this much height, etc., I belong to this country, etc., is okay. But to take it as real, that is an incidental attribute to me, but taking as real to this, as the idea is that taking this as, look upon this as my self-estimation, my self-evolution is abhimana. Okay? Sthula Sharira Abhimani. Abhimani means not arrogance. Generally, we use this in our vernacular language. One who is identified. Now, why it happens? Because, let us see this. Jivanamakam Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavat. This is where the trick is. The subtle body, the subtle body has a capacity to manifest the sentience. It is, the individual is by nature pure conscious being, nothing else, neither gross body or subtle body. Okay? But then the consciousness, what is Pratibimba? Understand. There are few words which are used in Shastra also. The Chidabhasa. The consciousness of obtaining in the mind. Antakaranam is called Pratibindha. Consciousness obtaining in the mind. Like even, suppose, as I had already said, there is nothing inert and sentient. It is only one consciousness. But then consciousness is what? Sat Chit Anand. How it is there? Conscious, what we call sentient objects are nothing but manifestation of consciousness in terms of sentience. And in those inert objects, that manifestation is not there, but consciousness is there as existence. Because inert object like this, tumbler, glass, silver glass, or the water that is inert inside it. If I said this is, the isness belongs to Satchidananda. Water is, that isness belongs to Satchidananda. Only thing is Chit, the sentiency is unmanifested. Exactly like. These are not three attributes of Satchidananda or Atma, the Satchidananda. It is the very nature. That is what is I. Like when you say sun, a ray of sun is what? Light, heat, and energy. There is a power, energy inside. So there is a light inside. Inside is a relative word, please understand. A ray of light is nothing but sun. That is what? Light, heat, and energy. That means wherever there is light, there is to be heat and energy. Because they are not separate. It's a very swarupa. It's very nature of the vastu. So it is there, but it doesn't manifest. Just take a piece of an iron ore, dark iron, put it in a sunlight, there is a hot, it becomes hot. So it has a capacity to manifest the heat of the sun, but not the light, not the energy. Now, a piece of glass, simple plain glass, suppose it is blackened, both sides you paint it black, it manifests heat. Touch it, it is hot. But wherever there is heat, there is light also, and there is energy also. But energy and light don't manifest. But if you remove the glass, if you remove the black color and put a silver coating on one side, it becomes mirror. Mirror has a capacity to manifest that light, the heat, as well as the light. You can see the light, and it reflects the light, reflects the heat also. And if you put some solar panel, maybe for water geyser or electricity, depending upon the nature of the panel that you fix in, that manifests the energy aspect of it. Similarly, all these Mahabhutas, 5 gross elements, they are not capable to manifest the consciousness, sentiency in a form of the consciousness. They like an iron ore. But since they are not separate from consciousness, the consciousness is there. The trick is, when this anything made out of 5 elements gets united or connected with subtle body, Sukshma Sharira, which we saw is predominantly Sattva and Rajas aspect, it has a capacity to manifest the sentience. Like the mirror has a heat as well as the light. The subtle body is That is a manifestation of conscious existence. And the subtle body becomes sentient. That means there is that sentiency ultimately belongs to consciousness. It is a capacity to manifest the sentience. Okay? And therefore, and that manifestation takes place in antakaranam. Therefore, antakaranam is called pratibimba. The consciousness, sorry, not antakaranam, consciousness obtaining in the antakaranam is called chidabhasa or pratibimba. Like the sunlight was there in and outside that black piece of glass, on the glass piece and everywhere. But just you bring another piece besides it with a silver coating, the light started manifesting. Understand? Just to explain, the consciousness obtaining in antakaran, either obtaining, I would say the word manifesting in antakaran, can be equated for our understanding, though it's a gross example, I know, to what? The sun obtaining in a mirror. Sun manifesting in the mirror. We call it a pratibimba. We call it a chit pratibimba or chidabhasa. That obtaining consciousness, somehow what happens? The antakaranam, which is a capacity to reflect consciousness. The antakaranam, which is capacity to manifest consciousness, has I sense. There is an I sense. What kind of I sense? That I am limited to this. Antakaranam being a part of Sukshma Sharira becomes sentient, and that Sukshma Sharira being connected to gross body, Sthula Sharira, this gross body also becomes sentient. Whenever a person dies, that it is nothing but separation of gross body and subtle body. It got separated, which had a sentiency, which was with the gross body. Thereby, gross body became sentient. But Sukshma Sharira has sentiency, which is only nothing but borrowed from consciousness. So, there is I sense. And that I sense is nothing but a thought, just a vritti. And that thought obtaining in consciousness, which consciousness? That obtaining in antakaranam is non-separate from the consciousness. So, with reference to this vritti, the consciousness is called pratibimba. And the thought is just a thought. It is not independent of consciousness. There is a presence of consciousness in every vritti, in every thought. And this I sense, the fellow becomes I, who becomes sentient. The I thought means I am this much because of the identification with Sthula and Sukshma. So the presence of consciousness in a vritti, I sense and this sense, is called pratibimba. Okay? Why it is called pratibimba? Please understand. Reflection. When we say reflection, this is a vacha, this is a limitation of language. This is where you need to understand the words in the right meaning, what right context. Reflection doesn't mean there is a sun and there is a mirror and the sun is reflected in the mirror. There is a spatial difference. There is a spatial difference between the two, gap between the two, distance between the two. No. Nothing is away from consciousness. And antakaranam is nothing but the product of consciousness. through Maya. But it is called Pratibimba. Why? Reflection. Why? Because the reflection is the existence of the reflection belongs to the Bimba, the one individual whose reflection it is inside, in the mirror. The Astitva, Chit, the existence of the reflection is borrowed from the Bimba, the person who is reflecting, and the sentiency of the reflection. In the mirror, you see the fellow raising the hand, putting the hand, combing the hair, that the fellow in the mirror is sentient. That sentiency also is borrowed from that Bimba, one who is standing in front of the mirror. So, Satta Spurti. Pratibimba means whose existence and whose activity or sentiency is borrowed from something else. So the Chidabhasa, reflection in Antakaranam, its existence of Antakaranam, and in that Antakaranam, obtaining of the consciousness, which is all pervasive, is that easiness is of consciousness. And the sentiency is also belongs to consciousness. So this I thought, I sense that I am limited to this much. I am doer and I am enjoyer, karta, bhokta, conditioned to be considering oneself to be this physio-psycho complex, looking upon myself as this body, mind, etc. That fellow is ahankara, which is just a thought. It is a pratibimba of the consciousness. Okay? Remember, pratibimba means mithya. That which exists because of something else, that which has sentiency because of something else. That's all it is conveyed. Whenever example is given in Shastra, that you can't equate completely with the example with what it is given example for. You cannot. If they are equal, then it's no more an example. Whenever the example is given, it implies only certain parts, only that aspect of it. So when it is said reflection, only the mithyatvam of the reflection, that existence and sentiency of the reflection doesn't belong to its own. It belongs to the person who is reflected in the mirror. That's all it is conveyed. So existence of I, ahankara, and existence and sentiency of the I is nothing but borrowed from the same consciousness. That's all it is. Pratibimba, okay, or abhasa. There is a trick. Antakaranam as though becomes subject and object. Like in my dream, I am the subject and I am the object. Or the hero on the screen, it is nothing but light. Hero is also light, and the object that hero consumes or experiences is also light. But there is as though subject-object division. That since why the sentiency pervades only up to the dermis, up to the skin, this individual somehow takes himself or herself to be of the size of the body, limited. And there is a prakritya. Prakritya means out of ignorance. Please understand, ignorance word includes error also. Not that I don't know, but I know myself other than what I am. Somehow there is a self-judgment. Somehow there is a self-estimation about myself. Somehow there is a self-worth that I have in my own mind. I am worth this, only worth this, etc. Exactly like when these guys go for interview in a company, And suppose the boss asks them, how much do you expect? Then he will say some number. Suppose he said some, some say 10 lakhs per annum, you know, I mean, 100,000 per annum, or 10,000, 100 per annum, 1 million or something. His wife will tell, you should have asked more, because she wants more for kitty party and she wants more to spend. She has to go to Walmart and she has to go to this all kinds of stores and she wants more. Then you should have asked 15 or 20 at least. He would say, how can we ask? We are only worthy of this much. Understand? Self-estimation. That fellow thinks I am this much. That error, that conclusion is without thinking. That conclusion is never questioned. From childhood, I take myself to be a human being. It's a point of view, not reality. This is what ultimate I am. Male or female, son, daughter, young, young, middle-aged, this skin, blah, blah, all kinds of. So, sthula sharirabhimani means subtle body also. I am very sharp, I am dull, or I am angry, or I am jealous, or I am loving. These are all attributes of mind. We have seen this in earlier section, while in the beginning of the text. But that, without thinking, he takes himself to the limit. And then, this is another. What he says, Sthula Sharirabhimani Brahma Pratibhimbam Bhavati. This is Brahma Pratibhimbam. That is Shastra sometimes called Chidabhasa or Chit Chaya or Chit Pratibhimba. There is no abhasa. When you take an exam, it's a model. Prakriya means model to explain, like the space. Space is everywhere. Suppose there is a pot in the space and there is a pot space. The pot space somehow takes itself to be 1 liter size and think the outer space is separate from it. That is why it is called avachedavad. Chidabhasa, Ghatakasha takes itself to be separate from Maha. And this fellow says, Prakrutya. First conclusion is, I am limited. Who is Jiva? Jiva is the one who considers oneself to be limited. Any which way. And that any which way can be divided into 3 categories. Specially limited in terms of space, I am limited. Time-wise limited. In terms of time, I am limited, subject to birth, death, and all kinds of vikaras. Lastly, object-wise limited. Vastu parichet. I am only human being. I am only a man or a woman, and I am Indian or American, Indian or Japanese or Argentinian or Spanish, whatever you say. Only this much. And second thing, without thinking, to take it, Swasmat Ishwaram Bhinnattvena. That Ishvara, Bhagavan, is someone who is away and someone who is separate from. That you take it from birth, it is one thing. But you institutionalize this concept. So many traditions. They say, who is a God? They don't say, who is God? They say, where is God? Up above the sky in heaven. God sitting in heaven created the world. God or Allah or whatever. All these religious fellows, the theologies talk of the goddess separate from themselves. We also say we have Kshirisagara, where our Vishnu is resting. We have Kailasa, where Shiva is resting, but we don't say he is there. We say he is here also. You know the story of Hanumana, that famous Ramayana story. After ascending the kingdom on the throne, Bhagavan Rama gave gifts to everybody. Hanumanji was right next to him as a personal servant, personal secretary. He was all secretary come, sevak come, everything, all in one. Dadin, sovereign, બધું જ હતા. He can go and burn the Lanka and he can do all seva. Didn't give him any gift. It seems Sitaji kept reminding Lord, she was sitting beside him, you should give him gift. Rama just neglected her, overlooked her, and she could not contain. The best necklace that belonged to the queen, she gave it to Hanuman. Hanumanji took the necklace, looked at it for some time, broke it. I'm sure Sitaji's heart must have been broken. Such a costly necklace, and every bead of it, he just put in the things and broke it and saw and threw it away. And then Sitaji asked, hey, what are you looking at? What are you doing? Then he says, I'm searching Sitaram. And when I don't see them, I throw it away. It's a story with a one message. Don't go into justifying every aspect of it. Then she says, but where is Sitaram? Then he tear his chest and showed they are here. So we say that Ishvara which is away is you. Understand? That is Jiva Ishvara Aik. When you see Ishvara as a separate, then you will, when you see Ishvara separate, consider yourself to be a devotee, a small devotee. Ishvara is a great, glorious, big, infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing, etc., etc., separate from me. That can never give moksha. Any kind, there is a definition of bhakti. Naradji says, the Narad was a great bhakti acharya. There is a bhakti sutra. He says, Ananya Swarupaj is to understand Ishvara as non-separate. That is a bhakti. Even Bhagavan himself in Gita says, Ek nani tesham nitya bhakti ek bhaktir vishishya. One who knows me as the self. One who knows himself or herself as non-separate from me. Or I am not, either way is true. And there are so many verses. As I said, we don't know from childhood. We take it. This is error. And you institutionalize. People sing, I'm not negating or saying anything against them. But one needs to grow out of it. If Ishvara was away from me, moksha is not possible. He will remain away. And then only thing is, from a devotee, you will become strong devotee or fanatic devotee. But then you will remain a devotee. And no one likes separation. There is, the oneness has to be discovered. And that Bhagavan himself says. People say this is bhakti. Doing jam japa is bhakti, and the bhaktas have craving. Oh Bhagavan, show me your form. Are, where are you? Kahan chip gaya Gopal, etc. They sing bhajan. And they crave. Ishvara cannot hide himself. There is no place to hide except behind ignorance. And that is a confounded problem. Because the whole creation is his manifestation. Whole Vedas, all mantras, whether you chant Rudram or Purushuktam or, I tell you, look at Bhagavatam and see any stuti, some praise of Vishnu. Even in Shiv Purana or Ganesh Purana or Devi Purana or any Purana, whoever Devata is praised, the God is praised, it is revealing him as everywhere. Understand? Shastra is a pramanam. What Bhagavan says is true, not somebody XYZ is saying that there Bhagavan is saying there and we have to see darshanam of Bhagavan and you have to have craving. No. The permanent division in fact creates fear. Unnecessary craving, I want to see Bhagavan. Right? And they have all kinds of stories. It is good to connect to Bhagavan. But ultimately, Bhagavan himself tells to Arjuna, "Hey Arjuna, know me to be yourself." And as I said, I can show you verses from all the chapters of Gita. So many verses. Emphasis of the whole teaching is that. And of course, Upanishadic mantras, even Purush Sukta, as I said. So, any kind of division is out of ignorance. That is error, erroneous thinking, or not thinking, erroneous judgment. There is no thinking. English, you can say, taken for granted. I've just taken myself for granted. I've just taken Ishvara for granted. Something away from me, doing this, doing that, and we have all kinds of stories. Of course, they also have, everybody has. Bhagavan created creation and did that. No. The so-called that ahankara devotee will remain ahankara, will remain tuchha. And even if he or she has darshanam of Bhagavan, same individual, I am away from, that's a vira. That gopis also Bhagavan taught, you better know me this. So, prakrutya, each one is born with ignorance as though, and because of the subtle body becoming sentient and subtle body being identified with soul sharira, the individual takes himself to be limited as a body-mind complex. I am limited. The world is too big. Therefore, people always have a complaint about the world. All the time, and then they have complained about Bhagavan also. I am doing so much of seva. I am doing so much of bhakti, nam japa. Why doesn't Bhagavan give me this? This is what gives me happiness. This, this, this is a jiva talking. And the jiva in reality is not separate from Ishvara. All that is here, including me, he is not separate. People say everything is Bhagavan except myself. It is like saying, among the corrupt people, this fellow says, everybody is so corrupt, Swamiji, nowadays. I know you are more corrupt. But he thinks I am clean. This is Jiva. And Arjuna did the same mistake. When Bhagavan showed him the cosmic form, he took Ishvara to be separate from him and found himself to be so small. The smallness gives bhayam. The smallness, Swamiji would say, creates a ninja out of it. Fighting with the world, always complaining, wanting the world to be changed, and thinking, always saying that world is creating all the problems for me. Which world and which you are talking? Prakrutya, Swasmat, by nature, by birth, and the Ishvara, as I said, being manifesting as a word, cannot be hidden. Nothing can cover him. Nothing can hide him except our idiocy. Swamiji would say, idiot. Idiot means ignorant one. Therefore, is idiocies. Our ignorance alone can cover Ishvara. How, and then he further talks about who is Ishvara. This is Jiva, who somehow takes Ishvara to be separate. And who is Ishvara? That discussion we'll take it up in the next class. We will have next class on 19th. Today is 13th. correct? No, 28th, 2028th we will have the class. I'm sorry, last two classes I couldn't take it up. It was a very short class and I had running around. I was abroad. And so I hopefully I'm here in this 1.5 months, at least in India, so I can make it out. And I've kept the Sundays free, at least for next 4 or 5 Sundays. So we'll have it. Those of you who are missed, some of your friends, because I didn't turn up for 2 classes, just call them up and ask them to join. I see very few of you today, almost half of them. So tell to them. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om.